Hello everybody and welcome back to Open Door with me, Mickey. So today I want to share my personal conversion story with you. I grew up in a really great Catholic Christian home. A belief in God is never really something that I struggled with. I always believed that He was there, but my belief in Him did not impact my life at all. It didn't change decisions I made, or it didn't factor into certain aspects of my life, or really any aspect of my life. It wasn't until I was in high school that I had a pretty profound experience. I was into sports, thought I had really great friends in high school, and I didn't have time for church other than going on Sunday morning. But my cousin, who is a very convincing individual, very persuasive, kept asking me like, hey, you need to come to youth group. You need to come to youth group. And I was just pushing away. Like, no, I don't want to go. I do my Sunday obligation in the morning. After that, I'm done with my church duties. And so I'm not going to go. Well, because he was so persistent, I finally decided to go to shut him up. I was convinced I was going to hate it. So I went, and I didn't hate it. There was something significantly different about the people and the environment there. I had gotten caught up in drama and really petty, superficial conversations in high school. And when I went to youth group, there was just a depth to conversation that was not superficial. Meaningful conversations. There seemed to be a calm among the people there. There wasn't drama, and that was really appealing to me. So I continued to go back. Through the process, I became really great friends with so many people. And one of my friends, her name was Katie. She was a year older than I was. During November of her senior year of high school, which would be when I was a junior, she was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And I had never, up until this point, actually watched someone suffer. I never watched someone who was in the process of dying. And I just remember watching how she conducted herself. She suffered tremendously, but she presented herself always with this, this grace about her. She had this calm, this joy that existed even in the midst of her suffering. And I'm not that way. I mean, when I'm suffering or I don't feel good, I let everyone know. I throw sort of a big pity party for myself. Everyone's invited, but I want people to know when I suffer. And she wasn't that way. She was not focused in on herself at all. I never once heard her complain about her pain. She would always be the first to ask you how you were doing. She talked about how great God was. And I remember not being able to really wrap my brain around how she could do that. How could she talk about how good God was? And I just couldn't understand how she could be losing her life but still be full of life. I didn't understand how even in her pain, she was calm and had this joy about her. And I knew that it was possible for that to exist because I saw it in her. Every weekend, we would, since she was diagnosed, we would go to her house and we would play card games and just tell old youth group stories and reminisce and pray together. And the night before she passed away, we were at her house. And she was too weak to come out into the living room. And so she was in her bedroom and she was asking people to come into her room one by one. So it was my turn, and her parents said, hey, Mickey, Katie wants to see you. So I went into her room, and I remember when I went in there that every breath that she took was such hard work. It was laborious, it was raspy, very slow, and you could tell it was tremendously painful. And I go in there and her parents say, Mickey's here. And she leans over and she looks at me in the eyes and she says, I love you. And she turned her head back towards the wall and continued to try to breathe. And I remember in that moment just being overcome with emotion. I went back into the living room. Tears are streaming down my face. And I'm kneeling down in the living room, and two, I guess, very important things happened. it was weird because in some divine way, I really felt God speaking to me through her. I felt God saying, I love you, through her own words. And that was one of the first times I felt a tremendous love from God towards me through another person. And secondly, I could not believe that someone would literally spend their last breath telling all of those around them, I love you. And I remember I said my first genuine prayer that night. Before I would pray like the Our Father really fast, just so I didn't feel guilty about not praying. But this time, this prayer came from the heart. And here's what I said. I said, Lord, I don't know what she has, but I want it. I want to be full of life, even if my physical life is dwindling. I want to be joyful, even in the midst of suffering. I want to be able to feel this sense of calm, even if there's chaos all around me. And I knew that it was possible because I saw it in her, and I told God that I wanted it. So from that moment on, that's what I decided to do with my life. I knew at that night on the living room floor as I'm praying that I was called to major in theology and to do something with high schoolers and religion, whether it was a youth minister or a teacher. And I honestly feel like God has called me to the mission of being like Katie was to me, for me to be a Katie to somebody else. If in what I say, in what I do, and how I conduct myself, if I could just, in a very small way, show the love of God to them through my life, then I've done what He has wanted me to do. So my mission, I feel, in life is to do that, to be like Katie was to me. That when other people look at my life, they see the love of God Himself. That even if I'm suffering, I want to be joyful. That even if His life is chaotic, that I can have this calm within my soul. That I want people to leave my presence knowing that they are loved, not just by me, but by God. And so that has sort of dictated the course that my life has taken. And I am forever grateful for the example of Katie in my life. And I pray that I can do for someone what she has done for me. So thank you so much for listening to my story. My challenge to you this week is to really think about the example that you set with your life. When other people look at you, do they see the love of God? And are you trying your best to be a great example to other people? And learning how to love God in the midst of suffering, and learning how to be calm in the midst of chaos. So that's my challenge to you. Thank you again for joining me. I hope that you have a great week. Take care, and God bless.